total silence. And get me a paper and a pen and a barrel. I'm good to go. You're welcome to another edition of Women in Action. And today, to start in my usual reflective mode, I want to talk about relationships. Relationships are very dynamic. And, one of the ways that relationships are exhibited, are formed around the world is through marriage. And marriage is something that, varies in the way it is done in different communities, different culture, different homes. In fact, even from one individual to the other, we all have different views about what marriage should mean. And some people don't even believe in marriage at all. Some don't think that it is an institution that should exist for relationship between men and women. But there are quite a number of culture, and definitely African culture, that sees marriage as a very important institution in human relation. And so today, my guest on WinAction is someone who has a lot to do with marriage. What she does with marriage, how she relates, her views, her experiences, all around marriage. And that is not what she is all about. She's about a whole lot more than that. She's someone that I have watched as a young person, having the dream of becoming a broadcaster myself. I've watched her on TV a lot of time. And even though I never dream of becoming the kind of broadcaster she was, because I don't think I have the skill to become that kind of broadcaster. I'll tell you why, as we go on with our conversation. But she is somebody that I'm very sure that you will all be delighted to meet, to get to know today. And on that note, talking about marriage, I want to again pick from my happiness jar this morning. And the words I want to share with you is from a Quran verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, 185, where it says, God intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship. Now, that is something that we should all reflect on. So when we are in hardship, we need to remember that God does not intend hardship for us. So we should go back to him and make sure that he gives us ease. And on that note, I would like to welcome my very special guest today on Women in Action. But before I give a brief on her, I'll go on a very short break and then I would introduce her formally. Yes. My guest this afternoon is Mrs. Folusho Ogunjimi. Can you tell me, I'm not sure, can you see her on the screen? Mrs. Folusho Ogunjimi was born to the wonderful Chief and Mrs. Olatuyi. She grew up in Ekiti State, formerly Ondo State in Nigeria, Southwest Nigeria. The young Folusho attended the prestigious Amoye Grammar School and earned a diploma in Yoruba from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. She followed this up with a diploma in linguistics at the University of Lagos shortly after. A thirst for knowledge brought her back to the school again for bachelor's degree in education at the Lagos State University, LASU. She followed in her father's footsteps and made a spectacular entry into journalism by joining the Ondo State Broadcast Corporation, OSBC, in 1983. She later moved to the Lagos State Television, where I, for one, got to know her in 1986. And she became a broadcaster, a news anchor, commentator, and so much more. Mrs. Ogunjimi graced the television airwaves for over 20 years while at the Lagos State Television. A superb and excellent style of presenting culminated in our nomination as the program anchor for many brands shown across multiple TV stations and viewed not only in Nigeria, but globally. She anchored Nestle's Dinner and Celebrities, LTV, Biowa film programs, and most recently, Nestle's Maggie Shoko Yokoto. And if you look at the poster, you'll find that I put that in bracket. That's something that, we're really going to talk about. I remember Maggie Shoko Yokoto, and that's why I said I didn't dream to become a broadcaster like her, because she broadcast in Yoruba language, and the prowess with which she used to read the news in Yoruba is not something that I can ever dream of gaining. So yes, I do want to be a broadcaster, and I worked towards it very hard, but I wasn't looking to be a Yoruba broadcaster. So I'm so honored, and I feel highly privileged to have Mrs. Ogunjimi with me here today. And also, as a believer in giving back to the society, Mrs. Ogunjimi established a vocational training school, Alarede Academy, and events, where she trains students in the arts of traditional Yoruba engagements, event management, and many other soft skills. Within just 5 years, the school has successfully trained over 500 students across 3 countries, Nigeria, United Kingdom, and United States of America. Mrs. Ogunjimi is passionate about advocates of the Yoruba and Nigerian culture. And Mrs. Folusho Ogunjimi has taken the arts from its lowly level to international recognition, where it was featured by the CNN a few years ago. Mrs. Ogunjimi is a deaconess of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, and she is happily married to Admiral Olufemi Ogunjimi, and now she's been married for 35 years. Their marriage is blessed with 3 wonderful children. Now you see why I started today's episode talking about marriage. We are talking about Mrs. Ogunjimi, who has been married for over 35 years. Not a very small feat to achieve. That is one. Secondly, we're talking about somebody that is teaching others how to make marriage celebration, marriage events, how to make it, one in a lifetime experience with the Alarede Academy. Now, what is Alarede in English? You're going to do a lot of translation for me today. Good enough, you are a Yoruba expert. So I'm sure we're really going to do well in that quarter. So I would like to say hello and welcome to Women in Action. Can you please just say hello to the people? Let's hear greetings from you.
Hello, how are you? Nice to be here.
Nice to be here with you too. And when I was reading your citation, I was feeling like, wow, to have you here to discuss about your experience being a woman. I don't know where or what aspect of your life we should start with. So I'm just going to start the usual way, the very simple way that I start with everyone. If I was to meet you, let's say in an elevator, and I say, please, can you describe yourself to me, Mrs. Folusho Ugujimi? How would you do that?
Thank you very much. Well, Folusho Ugujimi is a very simple woman. I was born some 56, going 57 years ago. I'm an Ekiti girl. I'm from Ekiti State.
I had one Ondo woman recently too. I think that Ondo is becoming, good.
Okay, I grew up with my parents. They were living in Badon. When my father was working with WNTV, WNBS.
So broadcasting is in the blood.
It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
So I attended my primary school in Ibadan. Then my secondary school, my father wanted me to have a touch of home. So he sent me to Ekiti State and my grammar school, Ikere Ekiti. So my journey to broadcasting started with my father. I'd always loved to see what he was doing, and I loved to do it.
What was he? Was he a presenter or just?
He was a cinematographer.
A cinematographer. Okay. All right.
So seeing him going out with governors, going out with all the big wigs, I loved the job, and thank God I'm there.
Thank God. It's so good to have a dream and then find yourself achieving your dream. And that's one of the reasons I have you on this show, because the WinAction is actually a show where I want to inspire other women. I want them to see that no matter what your circumstances is, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's excellent, whether you're born with a silver spoon or without a silver spoon, all you just need to do is dream and then take action. So if you dream and you don't take action, then there is a problem. So you had a dream and you had the opportunity because your father was in, a place where you could see him as a role model, and you actually followed it up. A lot of people have that and they don't follow it up. Now, my next question to you is this. What was it like growing up as a young Folusho?
Well, I always appreciate my father. He made everything very interesting and very good for me. Well, it's late now.
God forgive him.
Passed on a few months ago, 1st of April precisely. When a young girl, my father wasn't rich, but he was comfortable, and he made sure we had everything he could, everything within his own reach available to us. For my primary school, I can't say much, but for my secondary school, I was lucky to have schooled in my state. That gave me a lot of inspiration. There I learned to speak my dialect. And because it was Ekiti, we could do all this cultural dance, all this drama and all that. And that was where I had the background of all this that I do.
No, I used to see you as a Yoruba newscaster. At least that much, sticked in my brain as a young person growing up, and also trying to get into that field. So how did you eventually get into being a Yoruba news reader? Did you study Yoruba language?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My first diploma was in Yoruba at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. Well, but going into Yoruba newscasting was, by accident, but at the same time, I believe it is what God has purposed for my life. I was at Ondo State Radio for an interview I mean, it was after my school certificate examination. It was meant to be an holiday job while waiting for my admission.
Okay.
And that time they had more than 70 people for English newscasting and just 2 people for Yoruba newscasting. So somebody said, you better move to this side because you have more opportunity. And I was like, Yoruba newscasting, as at that time, I know it's only the old people that do it. They will see me as being a cake and all that. Okay. But I gave it a try. And that very day, after the interview, I went on air.
Wow.
Because they were so impressed. That very day. They were so impressed that, wow, have you been doing it? I said, no, but I always sit in front of the TV to watch them do it. And there's another person that really inspired me. Her name is Mrs. Oloketui. She's now Olori Adeyemi. Okay. She Oloketui's mom.
Okay.
No, anytime I see her do that newscasting in Yoruba, I loved it. But I never thought of
going into that.
Being a Yoruba newscaster. I wanted to be an English newscaster. So that was how it happened. After that, my father said, since you are in this, why don't you just follow that line? Go for a degree in Yoruba. At least you have a job, you have the opportunity of rising on that line.
That's really interesting what you just said. Now, look at the journey. You went for that interview wanting an holiday job.
Yes.
So that's something that, a lot of us, we don't actually, think to do for our children. I was just having a conversation with a friend today, and I was saying to her that before I moved to the UK, I never used to think about, making my children go for volunteering and doing like apprenticeship or things like that, just to gain experience, work experience, placement. But that coming to the UK and living in the UK, I now know the value of people going for volunteering and all that. And that is what you at that very young age, you thought of going into of getting an holiday job. If you didn't think of doing that, perhaps you wouldn't be where you are today.
Exactly.
So this is something that people need to learn. We just need to take action and to look at opportunities around us. That is one thing that you said that I find quite interesting. And then when you got there, your intention was not to go for the Yoruba auditioning. You wanted to be, so if somebody had not said to you, somebody saw an opportunity and say, if you are here, there will be more competition. Why don't you go to where the competition is less? And that's the issue. How would you say that as a woman, how difficult is it for us sometimes to make these decisions about going for something that we feel, people are going to criticize me, they're going to think, or they're going to look at me in a kind of a way, maybe it will belittle my person and stuff. How do you think that as women we need to balance this kind of situation?
Before I answer your question, let me just mention this. My mother never wanted me to be a broadcaster.
Wow.
It was a no, capitalized, underlined.
No.
She was a nurse. She wanted me to be a nurse or maybe on that medical line. One day my father asked, what is the reason for your saying no to this girl? She said, broadcasters don't get married.
Wow. And now you are in 35 years of marriage, isn't it?
I think that is so hard. And I said, Mommy, don't worry. I will surely get married by the grace of God. So people, because so many people, because of the fame, because of the way people view broadcasters, even some men feel so scared, so skeptical to marry broadcasters.
Broadcasters, yeah. I know about that. I know that feeling. I've been there.
For my husband, sometimes when we go out together for like 10 minutes, I'll be busy greeting people, men, women. So if a man is not supportive enough, it may not be possible. And so many men they won't even go into marrying a broadcaster. So that I believe that is why so many people, so many mothers don't agree with their daughters, especially going to broadcasting job.
Yeah, you know what? This question, I have a follow-up question to that, and that is, you as a wife and a mother, right? How easy was it for you to make your own identity, especially given the fear that must have come with you working in broadcasting? How did you manage that?
Well, I've been so lucky. God has always been on my side. Before I got married, my husband is a military man. Before I got married, when he proposed, the first thing I told him was that, young man, military men's wife are supposed to be full-time housewives.
Okay.
What I have in me is too much
to be kept
in one room. And he promised to allow me. And in fact, I was, being a young girl, I said, no, you have to put it in writing.
Wow. You wanted a contract.
Yes, let's a contract. Let it be an agreement. He said, no, don't worry. On my honor, I promise to let you be. And thank God he honored his word.
That's good. That's really good.
So I had all the support from him.
Yeah.
And then apart from that, I had one or two people living with me. I had a cousin living with me. She was schooling. Another one was living with me, learning a trade. Okay. Because the job of a broadcaster, as at the time I was raising my children, was not bread and butter. Now you can work from home, you can do one or two things. Then at the time I was closing at 10 p.m.
Wow.
Our last Yoruba news on television was 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I don't get home before midnight. Wow. Wow. Do the thing, we always have maybe like 2 days off after a week, after 5 days on, 2 days off. So the 2 days I always dedicate to my children. But believe you me, if you don't have a supportive husband and family, it may not be possible.
Yeah. I think even from the description of your daily routine, definitely if there was no support, that would have been extremely difficult. Now, now, how do you we're going to come to the work you do because I have a lot of interest in that. But how do you combine that role as wife and responsibility, of being a mother? I've heard that you said you give 2 days, of your free days to your children. How do you combine that role in such a way that it doesn't become overwhelming for you?
Well, it was overwhelming. It was so challenging. But like I always say, with God, all things are possible. When you put God first, it makes everything fall in place and easy. I did a lot of sacrifice. I made a lot of sacrifice. When I was raising my children, those who worked with me with Lagos State Television will know this. I didn't have a friend. I have friends, but there was no particular friend.
Close friend.
Yes. I think as at that time, no parties. I hardly traveled to my village. I think the two things I was doing then was my home, my job. So if I'm not at work, I'm at home. But I worked extra hard, really, really hard.
You needed to do more than an average baby broadcaster or an average woman would have done.
Yes. When I'm leaving the home, when I'm leaving the house, believe you me, breakfast is done, lunch is ready.
Wow. So how then what time do you wake up? I mean, do you prepare breakfast and then lunch before you go to work?
For a television job then, it was very flexible. We're not doing 24 hours.
Okay.
We normally do around 12, 1. So if I woke up at 6, I'm still fine.
Okay.
So I just prepare breakfast for the children, then do lunch and keep in the warmer. So those are the little things I had to do. As at that time, you can't keep.
So it was about trying to manage your time and at the same time not giving too much to one at the detriment of the other. That's really interesting. Now that of course leads to the next thing I want to ask you. A lot of when some people say that a woman following a career would have compromised on our values, especially for a career in the media, like you just said. Even your mom had that reservation about you going into broadcasting because they don't get married. So specifically, you know, in terms of the broadcast medium, your value and following a career as a woman, what would you say to them now that you have traveled that route? What would you say to people who have this kind of opinion about working women, especially in the media industry?
You can combine both and still excel. You can be successful in your career and have a beautiful home if you are ready to make that sacrifice. Like I tell people I have two personalities. At work, I'm a broadcaster. If you in quotes, a star. At home, I'm a wife. The house head, the whatever you can call me. Anytime I'm home, I make sure I balance everything. Anytime I'm home, I do everything at least to make up for the time.
You're not.
So it depends on the woman. These days, so many things distract women even more than the career. If you are not at work, you have to do less with social media, with television, with magazine reading, with doing. Sometimes people spend as much as 7 hours to do just air. All those, those things they have to be at least reduced.
You have to have the balance.
Yes, you can have quality time for your family. When you are at work, if you are spending, let's say 8 hours, 10 hours at work, you still have another 10 minutes. You have 14 hours left. The 14 hours, make sure you spend at least another 8 hours for your family. I think that will make you balance the two and you succeed.
Yeah, that's really a very important point that you have made there, and that would lead me to now go to the work you do. I introduced the fact that I used to know you first as a Yoruba newscaster, but somewhere along the line you became an household name. As far as I know, everywhere everybody is talking Shoko Yokoto, Magi Onirawo, and you know all those hosting of different celebrities on the show that you used to host. How did you get to that point? How did you make your way and you were able to get to the point of becoming an household name? And I am interested especially in Shoko Yokoto. Maybe we should even start from there. Tell me, what is the meaning of Shoko Yokoto? Try and translate it to English.
It means making your husband look good.
Make your
husband look good. Feed him well. Make him well fed. Yes.
Okay.
That's well fed will look good.
Okay. I get it now. Yoruba Shoko is make your husband Yokoto.
No, it's now that everybody wants to look slim. Before now, a man should look robust.
And nice.
He's not robust, then the wife is not working.
Okay, now that's good.
So the Yokoto is for the man to look robust.
Yeah. And then the slogan used to be Olobe no loko.
The woman that cooks well. The woman cooks well, then the husband will surely stay at home.
So how did you get to be picked to do that show? How did you end up, and then it became an household name?
Well, the program belongs to Nestle. They only asked me for a name that is befitting.
So you were the one that came up with the name?
With the name, yes.
Great.
My boss, Mr. Jimmy Odumosu, was the director. He was picked as the director. As a matter of fact, I heard they had about 4 or 5 people that were interviewed or auditioned for the role. But when Mr. Odumosu was picked as the director of the program, I think he suggested that he'll prefer to work with me because I have the skills of that will be good. Well, he mentioned my name. He called me. He said, it is a big challenge. We'll be able to cope. I said, sir, I love challenges. So I'm ready. And that was how we started.
Wow. And it became a big thing. And that, it became a big thing because I remember then it's always, I think it was on the Saturday. Was it a Saturday show or Sunday? I can't remember, but I just know that everybody used to look forward
on Sunday, later Saturdays. But the program got to that stage because Nestle and the director gave me a free hand.
A free hand, yeah.
Yes.
So you were able to play with it and make sure it gets to.
Yes. The first 2 episodes they had the script, and I said, no, this scripting of a thing will not work. When you are working with your audience, you should know your audience. You can't sit in the office, write a script that will not, that you cannot marry the audience interest and your script. So I was allowed to do it my way, and it worked out well.
It really worked out, and we all we testify to that. And even up to this moment, I think the show is no longer on air, is it?
Yes, rested.
It's rested, but it's still, there is no. It made Maggi so popular that even other seasonings, we start calling other seasonings Maggi. So if somebody wants to get no chicken and they will be saying, go on, Elora Maggi, go on, buy Maggi. And then some people say Maggi, white Maggi no. So it's like Maggi now became the name. And yeah, that's really good. And that's a show of the excellence, of the work that you did. And it's wonderful to see that a woman, has made such an impactful action within the community. And what makes it even more interesting for me, and why I wanted you to be here on this show today, is that was with your profession as a broadcaster, but you now took this outside of your professional earning, as your income, as outside of your profession. You now took it to the community, and then we're now talking about the Alaride Training School. Now, how did you come about that? What informed Alaride? But before you answer that question, I think maybe we should take some of this indication of the work you do. Yeah. Yeah, that's really you see, when I started the show this morning, I was talking about relationships and the dynamism of a marriage and the way it's done across culture. A lot of the culture from different countries, merge in different ways when it comes to things like marriage, especially when you have intercultural marriage. How did you come up with the concept of Alarede, and what did you hope to achieve with that?
Well, before Alarede came to be, I think the foundation is me anchoring traditional marriage.
Okay.
As a broadcaster with Lagos State Television, as at the time I joined in 1985, I was told there was no dispensation to employ anybody, especially non-Lagosians.
Yes.
And so I was on waiting list for 12 years. I mean, 12 solid years.
Waiting list to be a full employee.
Funny enough, I was working even more than what a full employee should do.
Wow.
No weekend, no public holiday. In fact, when I had my second child, I was allowed just 1 week off.
Wow.
When my husband insisted I had to be home for 1 month, I wasn't paid the stipend I normally collect.
Wow.
So that was how I found myself looking outward.
To other ways to get income.
So that was how I came into the Alaga stuff. After about 20 years, 22 years of being an Alaga, so many people come to me, please, we want to be trained. I want you to train me and all that. And I'm not the type that love taking 4 or 5 people to people's events. No, it's not good. It's not healthy. So instead of taking them to events to be trained, I decided to start from my living room. Started with 2 people. Within a month, there were 4. Before the end of that year, they were like 7. So I started training them. Along the line, we couldn't use my sitting room again because we were living in a military barracks, so to say. We couldn't do the drumming and all that. So I had to look for a place to train them. Then I was doing it free. For those who can afford to pay a stipend, I collect. For those who cannot afford it,
you were doing free.
So one thing led to another, and today we are here. By the grace of God, we've graduated over 100 students.
Wow.
So we have some students, or some of us.
And you said you have them across countries, because I could see you. There was the people from the UK, US.
Yes, we have. Yes, UK. We have students in UK that have already graduated and they are doing well. Also, we have about 3 of them in Canada.
Wow.
And United States of America.
That's really good.
The last refresher class we had to do it virtually so that all of them could join. And it was very, very interesting.
I want us to take that virtual event now. That's virtual training.
Yeah. That lady in green gilly.
Yeah.
Is in Canada.
Wow.
She's in Canada. So now we do virtual so that at least more people can have the opportunity of learning the job.
Okay, so this is like a training, a virtual training, not an actual event. It's just a training for people to learn the arts.
Yes, this particular one wasn't for new students.
Yeah.
Okay. We combined both
new and old.
The new were in class. The old were on Zoom.
Okay, so they were the ones showing.
Special course for them. But usually what we do is to combine both new and old once in a month. And we bring all of them together once in a month because I do monitor them.
Okay.
For some of my students, once you do what I don't like, I call on you, correct you, and make sure you attend once in a month refresher course.
That's really good. Now with the Alarede and you, what are we how do we describe alaga in English now? Because the whole concept of alaga ijoko and alaga ijuro and all that, how can we describe it to maybe somebody who is not Yoruba, for them to really understand what that is all about?
In a simple language, you can call alaga the anchor for traditional marriage.
Okay.
Or compare, or an MC.
Okay, but I think they do much more than what an MC does. That's my view, because there is a kind of culture and heritage, imbibed in the act of alaga.
Oh well, sure, they do more than what MCs do, but if you just to carry and somebody that is not a Yoruba, a non-Yoruba person, the best way to describe it is just to say traditional master of ceremony.
Traditional master of ceremony. So all the tradition, the culture that is now included is where you will now understand, okay, this is something that is way just beyond somebody calling on the next activity at a party or at an event. Now, you become so big, doing alaga, that you conduct celebrity weddings, right? I think I've witnessed a couple of celebrity weddings that you were the alaga there. How did you do the networking? How did that is it just because people know that you're a broadcaster and then they say, oh, I want that broadcaster, or how did that come about?
Well, broadcasting job was a plus, or it's still a plus. But like I always say, nobody can receive except it is given to him or her by God.
Yeah.
It's purely grace of God. Sometimes one might know how to do it very, very well, and it will be like noise in people's ears. But when God says, my grace is sufficient for you, then no matter how you do it, people will like it. That's one. God first. Secondly, when I started, I think I was about the youngest. Then we had mummies of 56, 60, 70 doing it. I think I was in my late 20s. And each time I anchored an engagement program, somebody somewhere will give me a tip. Oh, my dear. What's it? Don't drag it. You are younger. Make sure you don't waste time. And I think that is one of those things that gave me an edge. Time
management. That's something that I've heard people talk about alaga. They're like, oh, these alagas, they waste time. They can spend 30 minutes, help us to, and they will spend 2 hours, and they are asking from one thing to the other. So for you to have that as your unique selling point, I would say, people just need to learn from you.
The elites, the rich, the celebrities, all of them don't have the time. They don't mind you coordinating their engagement program just 10 minutes and leave. So if you have somebody that wants to do 4 hours and somebody can do 1.5 hours, they'll definitely go. Of course. So that was just it.
Wow. Now you are a woman of faith. You are a deaconess from when I read your citation. How would you say your religious activities, your affiliation for the church, how would you say it has helped your professional development?
Of course, it's all about it. It's all about my religion. It's all about my God. It's all about my belief. If you don't have God, you can hardly succeed in anything. People say it's luck. Me, I always say, no, it's not luck, it's grace. Like we are being taught in my church. When one labors, he will go on and on and on and may not achieve anything. But when grace is working, then favor comes in. Wow. And you don't need to labor. Everything just fall in place.
I think it's just
so mine is an unmerited favor. God has been gracious to me. And I don't take it for granted. So my religion has actually helped
in a lot of
every
ways.
aspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it helps you to reflect, to put things into perspective, and take the right decisions. Now we're just going to go on a short break, and then we'll come to that segment of the show where I actually like to it's one of my favorites on the show, and that is your peg at your achievement segment, because this is where you actually get to share with me and everyone that is watching or listening to us how we can learn from your own life experience. So we'll go for a short break. And let me just say before we also do that to everyone, those of you that are watching on Zoom, and if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter, that I would allow some questions or comments, somewhere along the line very soon, but we'll go for a short break and then we'll come back to do our peg your achievements. Yeah, so peg your achievements. I would only allow you to use either a single word or a phrase. I don't want sentences. If you use sentence, I won't accept it, and then we'll have to start all over again. So here on the segment, it's about telling us about the most painful experience that you have had, what you consider to be a pain in your journey of life so far. I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of life experience you're going to have, because we're all here, and may God continue to give us long life. So I want you to talk about your most painful experience, then your empowerment. What do you consider as that thing that has empowered you to be who you are today? And then the last thing will be your gain. What have you gained so far? What would you put as the anchor, the gain of everything you've experienced in your life? So I'm going to bring up my board, my whiteboard, and then as you say it, we'll try to peg your achievements so far. So yeah, let's see. So the first question, what has been the most painful experience for you? How would you describe it?
12 years without a record.
12
working years without a record at LTV.
So working without pay. Is it just about pay?
No, it's not about pay. I was being paid a stipend.
Working without
there was no record of it. Finally, when I was given after 12 years, when I was given
no record.
When I was given my employment letter, it started on that very day. The 12 years was not recorded. That's the most painful thing I've ever had.
12 years without a record. Now, what will be your empowerment? What has empowered you?
I think my family support.
Family support. Okay. And what would you say is the gain?
The gain. Wow. In just 1 second.
A word or a phrase? I allow a phrase.
I'm not there yet, but dream fulfilled.
Dream fulfilled. Dream fulfilled. Okay, now let's look at this together. This is pegging what you have achieved so far as Folusho Ogunjimi. Now, you said 12 years without a record.
Yes.
Can you like expatiate a little bit more on that?
At the time I
How does
started,
it make you feel?
well, it makes me feel cheated. It's to date, any day I remember the inputs, the effort, the interest, the sacrifice I made in Lagos State Television. Losing 12 years of my service years makes it so painful. When I voluntarily retired after 11 years, I was supposed to have worked for 21 years, not 11 years.
11 years. Somebody said something here. Somebody said you are remembered for your prayer. So what I guess that is something that, you know, nobody can pay you for. The prayer, the impact you have made, the people you have touched. That is, those are not recorded by them officially, but you have recorded yourself to some people, and you know, you have recorded yourself with God, and you are getting, and that's why. Okay, so let's talk about your empowerment, family. If you're to expatiate on that, what would you say? Family support.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the program, I have a very loving family. My children, my husband, my siblings. It will interest you to know that a brother of mine, he stopped doing that 5 years ago when he moved out of Lagos. A brother of mine used to come to my house every Sunday afternoon just to help me pound yam.
Wow.
And he did that for more than 15 years. Every Sunday. That's one of the supports I have.
Wow.
He's a graduate. My sister
will come every Sunday to pound yam.
Every Sunday, because he knows we eat pounded yam every Sunday in my house. After pounding the yam, he will take gari. Wow. He doesn't eat pounded yam.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Wow. What a support. I see why that is your empowerment. I mean, who would not be inspired? Who would not feel fulfilled with that?
I have another brother that drove me for one solid year. Wow. I had an accident and I couldn't drive, and he volunteered to drive me for one solid year. And he refused to be paid. He refused to be paid.
Wow, I would say you're so lucky. you like you said, you described it well. It was, you've got the grace of God with you. I mean, who does that? Who has that kind of grace?
For my children, even when they were in the universities, if I wanted to recharge my NEPA card, it's just to send a message. Hello, I need to recharge. I didn't know how to do online then. Nothing online. If I needed my data page, my international passport data page, I just send a message. They bring it out. So most of the time, I had everything on a platter of gold, just because God has given me wonderful family members.
Wow, that's
and for my husband is a pillar in my life. Wow. There was a night I woke up. Then he was a young officer. Well, I think we were like 10 years then. I woke up around 1 a.m. And I was looking for him. He wasn't in the room. Then I heard his voice. He was in the toilet. Then we had just 2-bedroom flats. But he was in the toilet, and I heard him mentioning my name over and over again. Father, wherever she goes, she must not stumble. She must not fail. She must not fall. I was like, yeah.
He was praying for you.
He was praying at night.
Wow.
I said, and I told myself, I said, look at this girl. She's jumping up and down, saying, I know how to do it. So somebody here is losing his sleep for me.
Hiding to pray for you. Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
that's
What
the
a
aspect.
great. What
So
a
when I
great.
say family support, I mean it.
I've heard people, I've had one person also say about their empowerment that it's family support, and it's so amazing, to hear these things, and especially when there are people who struggle to actually get even somebody to say well done to them. And it's amazing, and it's something that one should really really be grateful for. And now your last the dream fulfilled, what do you want to say about that?
Well, when I say dream fulfilled, that's about my career as a broadcaster. I wanted it as a child. I got it. At a point I was discouraged because the platform wasn't there with Lagos State Television. But at the end of the day, when I got the employment letter, I worked for like 10, 11 years, and I decided to leave because I chose to. Today, when I see people on Tube, I don't get jealous. I don't feel like going back because when I wanted it, I had it by the grace of God. I'm good now. I'm satisfied. It's a dream fulfilled.
Wow.
It's a dream fulfilled.
Wow. I'm so
I give God all the glory, and I appreciate my late father. God bless him. God rest his soul.
Yeah. I'm always very happy when people talk about their father and how they have impacted them, because a lot of time people feel that when you're talking about women, it's all about oppression, and it's all about women being oppressed by men. But it's so amazing and refreshing when you hear stories and you talk to people and you hear about amazing men like your dad, like your husband, that are really supporting their women. And we hope that this will be inspiration for others who perhaps are going on the wrong track and they're not doing the right thing for the female in their lives. Now, there's a question here on the chat for you. It said, why was it that you were not paid for 12 years? And the person also comments on your on the support. It is an amazing support, like I said.
Yeah, no. I was paid. Okay. But I wasn't paid as a staff. My employment was not regularized
for 12 years, and it wasn't on record that you've been working. It wasn't on record
that I've been working, even though I worked. I did what every regular staff did.
Staff was doing.
Yes, there was no record of it because I was told there was no dispensation, and I was expecting that eventually, when the dispensation was available,
that you would
the 12 years
would be backdated
at least. So they didn't do that. So it was more or less like an artist job, pay as you go. The day you don't come to work, you are not paid.
It wasn't and there are a lot of people that possibly can relate with that, especially in this country where we live in the UK. Lots of immigrants do jobs. They find themselves in situations where they do things that no records are kept for them, and they're just like, and people feel really frustrated.
Nothing.
So it's so nice to have spent this 1 hour with you, talking about your life experience, having a peek into how it was growing up, and all the the good, the bad, and the very excellent that you've had. And I'm just going to give 2 minutes before I let us wrap up. If there is anyone within the Zoom audience that wants to ask a question or make a comment. Anyone, please raise your hand and I would allow you. Otherwise, I'll go straight to you as something that I want to ask you as a takeaway. If you look on the screen, you will see something I took from your Facebook page. Yeah, it says, leadership is not about a title or a designation. Yeah, it's 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
About impact.
It's about impact, influence, inspiration. And impact involves getting results. Influence is about spreading the passion you have for your work. And you have to inspire teammates and customers. Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. Team success, degree. What is this about?
Well, it's self-explanatory now.
I know, but I want it from you. What did we've just pegged your achievements, right? What made you decide to put these on a Facebook page? To, I don't know how many people have come across it and they are going away with stuff. I went away with something, but I wanted to hear what inspired it from you.
Well, I believe as a leader, you don't have to, don't be a boss, be a leader. When you are a leader, you influence your followers positively. And for me, for you, for everyone, the day we stop learning, that's the day we die. We must continue to learn. I've learned some things from you this afternoon, which I'm sure is going to be beneficial to me and to some other people.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people, don't stop learning. Believe you me, I still learn from my students. Because there are some hip-hop songs they sing that I come and sit down.
And yes, that you can use at your Alarede thing.
Yes. No, I mean the Alarede students.
Yeah, okay.
Because sometimes when you go out on this Alaga thing, you meet some guys that don't want the traditional songs per se. So you must know this, you must know the current one, the old one, so you can marry the two. So don't stop learning.
So leadership is about a two-way thing where you influence people and you also allow them to have their influence on you. That's really amazing. And I'm so grateful that you were able to eventually join us today. And because I would have missed out on all this, this session, this time with you has been extremely wonderful for me. And I've learned a lot. I've learned from you as someone that I know as a celebrity broadcaster, because that is something that I've always wanted to do as a young person. Like you, I developed the interest in broadcasting, listening to broadcast news with my dad. So I'll be there with him, helping him. He says, me scratch my back, and then I'm scratching the back. We're there on NTA or LTV news, and I'm always thinking, oh, I wish I could be like that person. And a lot of time I'll go and stand in front of the mirror and I'll start practicing, trying to talk the way they talk. But I never practiced Yoruba. I won't lie about that. I never practiced Yoruba. It was usually about learning to
speak. I think Yoruba newscasting is the most difficult because they don't write your script is in English. You have to translate.
So you are the one doing your translation yourself. So it's a multitask thing. You're doing more than just reading. And I really appreciate it because I'm married to someone who does the same. He studied English, but he's more a Yoruba person.
And he does it excellently well.
Yeah. So and a lot of time he corrects my Yoruba. So now my Yoruba is better than it was because of him. So my Yoruba is quite better than it was. So now it's so wonderful to have you. I'm really very grateful. I thank you very much. And for everyone who has joined us on Zoom, I want to thank you very much for being part of the WinAction show today. And I do hope you have taken one or two things away from the show. Like I say all the time, the Women in Action program, yes, it's targeted at women because I want to showcase women and their achievements. I want to show women that are impacting their community, but it's something that is meant for everyone, whether you're male, female, or not. The important thing is about getting inspired, taking action, and doing the right thing. And today we've listened to Mrs. Ogunjimi. She has talked to us about the fact that sometimes you might lose things, because she lost 12 years of record to just because it's the way it was. She couldn't help it. And the people that did whatever they did and they did not put her on the record must have their reasons. So there are a lot of us going through different things at this moment. And we're thinking like, oh, I'm just wasting my time. People are just taking advantage of me. Yes, we will feel that way. It is part of life experience. But what is important is what you're able to make of your life. And see what she said about family support. So also you look around you. What kind of support can you get? We don't all have the same type of families. We don't have the same type of people around us.
What kind of support can you give?
And what kind of support can you give? Absolutely correct. What kind of support can you give? So if you are not getting support, are you giving support? It's very important. And when you give support, the natural thing most of the time is that you also eventually get support. So try and look around you. Where can you support and how can you be supported? And of course, dreams and dreams and dreams. I dream a lot. I dream even when I'm sitting down and I'm talking. As I'm talking to you, I'm dreaming. I wouldn't lie because I dream a lot. I just imagine things. And when I imagine things, the next thing that is coming to my mind is how do I make them happen? So the moment the moment I told my husband, see, I want Mrs. Ogunjimi on my show, because she's done something and she's a woman that is impacting our society. I wouldn't leave him until I got you. So that's the way it is. So we need to dream. And when the kind of fulfillment and achievement you get when you fulfill your dream, you can't begin to think about it. It's not about money. It's not about anything. It's about doing things to impact your society positively. And also when you impact your society positively, you are also impacting yourself. And so that is how we're going to end the show today. But before we go, I want to take a last a takeaway from Mrs. Ogunjimi to all of us.
Okay, to all of us, like she said, we don't just dream, make sure you add action. When you dream, you have a dream, work towards it. If you work towards it prayerfully, be rest assured it will come to pass. And don't stop to learn. Don't stop to grow. When you stop learning, you are dead. Thank you very much.
You need. And then before we go, I want to say something. You have to answer me. Alarede Jo.
Alarede Jare.
Yeah, did I say that right? Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful having you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. And that's it for today. I want to thank every single one of you for joining. Those of you watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, remember to subscribe to our channel. Remember to share this, because we want a lot of people to be inspired. We want people to get to hear this, because you don't know who you're just going to be touching. You don't know who you're just going to be making a whole lot of difference in their life. So please do share, and subscribe to the channel. And by next week, I'm going to be bringing another, inspirational woman. I've got one of them on this program here today. I'm looking for the day she's going to come on my show, and I know she's got a lot to share, and that's Alaja Ayabakadejo. And of course, on that note, I would like to say happy birthday to her. Today happens to be her birthday, and it's wonderful that despite it being your birthday, you are here with us on this show, and you are able to be part of the conversation with Mrs. Ogunjimi. So on that note, thank you everyone. See you next week, and I do hope you keep taking actions. Keep dreaming and keep taking actions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.